All right, so this is another talk for today. I got to knock some out because there's some topics I gotta really hit on. Um, Women are still under the impression that they have to make great sacrifices in order to survive because they are really focused, like razor focused, on the need for survival and just basic survival. That has been an issue for an awfully long time. Like thousands of years, it's been that way because of the balance. And them going, so many millennia not being allowed to make their own decisions and things like that, and then and then it went from that to boom, having to make all of them on their own when that wasn't necessarily part of the master plan, i.e., women's lib. That has really screwed things up for our psyche. We were already screwed up having to do weird shit for survival anyway, but now that it's so backwards, no matter what we try to do, and they wonder why we're crazy. Don't we still can't get by, but with or without men, still can't seem to make it work. But the thing is, women have such a bad habit of telling themselves, if I do this, he'll help me. Stop. Stop that. Stop it. Stop. If I do this, he'll help me. That, not enough volumes could ever be written to cover that. Men don't realize it because they don't, they don't look past it. They don't realize that there's a deeper meaning to, to us being so afraid we're not going to survive. Because to them, and I have had this thrown in my face, I don't even want to talk about it. I'm getting where I don't even want to talk about it because this has been put in my face so much. Tell me how many times you've heard this when you were crying about survival. Life is an adventure. Life is an adventure. Why are you so upset? Life is an adventure. Life is an adventure. How in the hell is life an adventure when my manager fired me because I didn't flirt back with him and it got me in trouble? How is life an adventure when I take the car to get an oil change because that's what my brother said it needed, and I take it down there and they charge me $1,600 for a bunch of stuff that it needs? How's life an adventure when I get a job somewhere and somebody that I didn't want to go on a date with followed me to that job 30, 40 minutes from my house and is in there smiling at me while I'm trying to go to my manager, who is also a man and will hopefully understand that I feel I'm in danger and I can't go to my car because he's going to be in the parking lot and no one's going to see me get my throat cut. Those are all things that I've experienced. And I can give you the names of each damn person I just mentioned. I'm not going to, that one of them I did. The guy followed me to work. That was when the guy following me to work and smiling at my manager. That was, there's another video I did on that. And that was Ed Bishop in Talladega. So you can go look at my videos and get the whole story. Which also includes me having to get my car fixed. It was the same car that I had mentioned in the video, but it was at a different time. It was when I first bought it. And I was told, it wasn't my brother that said it, it was somebody else, but it was the guy's nephew. But anyway, because I worked with him, and he told me that it needed an oil change because it was his car, and he sold it to me. And I took it down to Express Oil Change, and they charged me $1,600, which I paid because I didn't know any better and trusted them like the dumbass I was. I trusted them. And I gave them $1,600 to fix the shit that was wrong with it. And after that, 2 weeks after that, I was in Georgia, 3 fucking hours away. And it quit on me because the fan up front that cools the engine quit. So then I had to have it towed back. It was $400 to tow it back because I didn't have a lot of money, so I had the cheapest car insurance that there was, and it didn't have towing. And I had $400 exactly in my bank account, and it was every penny to pay that tow truck man to tow me back and get me back home at like 1 in the morning from Georgia, giving my friend a ride who someone had recruited me for. Another man, 2 dudes, had recruited me to give the other dude a ride that was 2 hours out of my way. See, life's not an adventure for women. Do you understand? Do you know why they say yes to shit like this that they don't want and they know it's bad for them and they know isn't going to work for them? They say yes to it because they don't have any fucking boundaries. And they don't have any boundaries because they're afraid if they have boundaries and say no to something that they're not going to survive. So you got to learn how to say no. Do you see that? Do you see how all that is all tied together? One adventure after another. You know, men they don't get it now and they never will, so just forget about it. Just forget about it. Just forget it. But life is not an adventure for us. It's a struggle to stay alive. Because if men aren't trying to kill us, they're at least trying to take all our money. And they don't care if you got children at home and no child support. They don't care. They don't. They would rather be able to buy cigarettes and whatever else they need, you know, so they're going to charge you whatever they got to charge you to do that. And they know because you're a woman and you don't know what's going on, and especially if they know you don't have anybody to go to for help or a man to run it by to see if it's legit. If you're in there by yourself, girl, look out. Look out. Because they will bend you over for all you have. And that was a lot of my money that I had at that time. I'd gotten a tax return, which was the only reason I was able to swing it anyway. But all it needed was an oil change. And then I took the receipt back to the guy that I bought the car from because he was a friend of mine at the place where I worked. And I showed it to him, and he was looking at it. He said, "Miranda, all this car needed was an oil change. Why did you pay for this?" I said, "He told me it needed that." And he was like, "No, Miranda, that's not how it works." And I said, "I didn't know that. No one fucking helped me. No one, you know, when I got there and he was the mechanic, I took his word for it." Women are trusting. That's what gets us in trouble. That's what gets us in trouble. And then when we quit trusting them, "Well, she's just a bitch. She won't let me blah, blah." That's because she's afraid you're going to try to ruin her. Because 10 more just like you have done that in the past 2 years. That's why. You can only take a pattern for so long, and then finally you got to come to your senses and say, "Okay, you know, I can't let this happen again. How do I stop this? What was the mistake I made last time? I trusted. Okay, to hell with trust." And then they turn into a stone cold bitch, quote unquote, just because they don't want anybody getting too close to them. But women, they give up so much shit, for survival, and they'll marry men they don't love, because the guy's got money. And you think it's because she's just a gold digger, blah, blah. She's never had a job in her life. She's just looking for what. And I've seen women do that. I have seen that. I'm not saying it doesn't happen. It does. But you got to look at why someone does what they do. Men, women, whatever. That bug, You got to look at why people do what they do, and it'll explain it. It won't excuse it, but it'll explain it and bring you some clarity. Women that go after men with money, they're afraid. Those women, they won't admit to it because they don't even realize it, because they don't know themselves, which is why they're just going after somebody with money. But the women who do that, for example, are doing it because they think they can't make it on their own. How many women have you seen who were happy, single, alone, with a good paycheck, their own little apartment, their own little house, and really ran their own show and didn't need anybody, who turned around and went after somebody else because he had money. It doesn't make any sense. She doesn't need his money. If she's a nurse making 1,000 something a week, she doesn't need him. So what if he drives a Benz? She probably fucking drives one too. So what? That's not it. You know, somebody like that, she's not worried about going after somebody with money because she has her own. She knows she can do it by herself. So somebody who is just chasing money like that, or somebody else's money, is probably doing it because she thinks she can't survive by herself. You know, and then women like me who don't like to ask for help. Not so much because it's a sign of weakness, quote unquote, because it's not that, but I've had a lot of people hold it over me or use it against me when I needed help. On the rare occasion that I'd finally buckle and ask for help, a lot of times my relatives never did, but you know, boyfriends especially, whew, they are determined. A lot of them are determined to use that against you. A lot of them, and it gets to where you're so afraid to ask for $20 that you're about to cry because you need it so bad. You need the gas, or you just need to finish paying the rest of your phone bill, or your kid needs snacks for school, and you're so fucking afraid to ask for $20 or 40. Whether you think he's got it or not, you're so afraid to ask. Because if he doesn't have it, it's going to make you look like, you think it's going to make you look like you're just looking for money. Or if he does have it and gives it to you, now you owe him 3 times that. Not money. So, I mean, we all know. We all have an idea. So, I mean, it'll be everything else. You know, you got to pay back with your self-respect. You got to hand that over, and that's no way to live. And women are so fucking bad about that. Well, if I just do this, you know, he'll help me. That'll ensure. It's like paying insurance. That's what they think they're doing. That is really what they think they're doing. If I do this now and invest in him now, one day when I really, really need help, I can ask him and he'll do it. Maybe he'll do it. Maybe he'll help me. Because she's so damn convinced that she can't survive on her own. I mean, how many downfalls have I had in my life? And don't ask me because I can't count them. But how many downfalls have I had? And I bounced back from every one of them. Obviously, I'm still alive. I'm here. Doing fine. To put it plainly, I feel better about my life now than I ever have before. I really do. I feel better now than I ever have. I feel like I can breathe. You know, I feel better. And I've been through so much stupid stuff happening, so many things falling apart that I thought were going to work. So many people who I thought would help me who either did and held it against me later or didn't. And a lot of them are the kind that'll back out at the very last minute, right when you're on the brink of things getting bad. Then they'll bow out. And I've had that too. By somebody who owed me anyway. I can't get into that because I will get a little bit pissed off. But let's just say, you know, I've seen some shit. And I've seen some dumb shit. And you can't. Women have got to stop handing their life over to a man. Stop telling yourself that you're not going to make it without him. Just stop. Take a deep breath. Regroup. Make a list of the 3 important things you need immediately. And then make a list of 3 ways you can get it done. I've done that. And yeah, it works. I've done that. And, you know, it can work. A lot of times it's easier to go to other women because they understand where you're coming from, obviously. You know, especially somebody with children. And women are more compassionate and more, you know, they recognize the underdog. You know what I mean? And they're known to be better for that. So a lot of times you can go to other women and ask for help, and you'll just get it. And they don't, you know, they're not expecting you to take your clothes off later and shit like that. It's not, you don't have to like pay these huge debts. So, that's thanks to women's so-called liberation, by the way. I don't know what happened. I don't know why the reaction was what it was, but for some reason when they said, you know, we don't want to be treated as property anymore and don't want to be, you know, have our asses pinched at work by our managers, for some odd reason, the men just said, well, all right, I won't pinch your ass anymore at work. You're not my property anymore. But I'll be damned if I ever help you again. And it's like that just went, you know, like right off the cliff. Just went right off the cliff. And so now you've got women my age, 35, who have been just kind of like fighting for their life, you know, because they think that, you know, they think we can do it, or they think we want to do everything by ourselves, which isn't always true. We are taught that we kind of have to, because of the way things have gone. And then what we think of each other is wrong, and what we think we're supposed to be doing is wrong. It's so backwards. Everything's so damn backwards. But what I'm trying to say is, you need to start with telling yourself that you can do things. I know that's hard. I know it's hard. But you've got to start telling yourself that you can survive without... You can survive in between boyfriends. You can survive. You can. If you have to go so far as to make amends with a relative who has a living space where you could go and live if y'all just got along better, I would say, sadly, at least for the time being, just suck it up, you know, make peace with them, and go live with that person, and at least not have to pay, you know, $1,000 in rent somewhere. Start with that. Look at every single option you've got, even the options you may not necessarily want to use. So you just have to do it. You know, we're not paid as much as they are unless we go to school. They can get paid just for doing physical work, and they don't have to know shit. They just have to lift. You know, any of these clowns around here could go and do construction and make, you know, $20-something an hour. If I wanted to make $20-something an hour, I've got to go to school for 2 years. Well, how am I going to pay for that? You see what I mean? See, that's a whole shitstorm right there. So, you know, when it comes down to the bare basics, they're still, when it comes to making money, they're still going to have the upper hand because of shit like that. For example. And they'll argue and tell me that's not true and I'm just some bitch and all this stuff. I don't care. I really don't care. Because I'm speaking from what I see every day. This town is just about nothing but working class. And these people can make good-ass incomes just building shit. They don't have to know anything about it. They just volunteer, you know, to go volunteer themselves to go apply somewhere and say, okay, you know, well, what can you do? Well, I can lift heavy stuff. All right, you know, go for it. Here's a hat. You know, don't die. And before you know it, it's $1,000-something a week. I'd have to dance on tables to get that. I don't even know if I would make that at all. So, It's just, women we have to fight so much harder, for like basic shit. And like I say, like that story I told in the very beginning, I said I got fired for not flirting. I've lost at least 2 jobs I can think of that I'm aware of, lost 2 jobs that I can think of, because I didn't hug them back. The first one was, I think I was right out of high school, and I was waiting tables at a place in Virginia Beach called Cinema Cafe. It's one on Kemps River Drive, for any of you who live there. And the manager, this is a while ago, this was like 2006 or something. The manager was a little short blonde guy called Kevin, who always wore Hawaiian shirts because he was cool. And the waitresses were okay, but the nicest people were the cooks, which is kind of typical when you work in food. That's pretty common. The cooks are like, there's something about them. They're just easier to talk to. I don't know why that is, but I've seen that a lot. So I got on better with the cooks really than I did anybody else. But that Kevin, that little guy, he when I got there, those girls let me know immediately. It was like one of the first things I heard was the scheduling is screwed up. The customers can get real picky, which is kind of normal for that area. And Kevin is going to put his arms around you a lot. So, be careful. And I was like, oh, okay. But that was the guy that hired me. So I thought, well, okay, great. So he's my manager. So I'm probably going to be, looking at him as often as humanly possible because he's going to be around us. So I got to deal with that now. And I was like 18. I didn't know anything about men. And I sure as hell didn't know you could get fired for not flirting back with one. I just didn't know. I didn't know. Had no idea that was like, part of life, as it were. It fucking shouldn't be, but it is. So, he said something about my shirt, and then, and at some point he started the arm thing. It was real early too, like I'd just gotten there, like in the first couple of weeks, I would say. And then he started the hand around the waist kind of thing, and I just thought, what the hell? Because nobody had done that to me before. I hadn't been anywhere. I'd only ever been in school, so it's like that was one of my first jobs, I think, and no one had pulled that with me yet, and I was like just 18. And he was doing the arm around the waist stuff, and people saw it, but no one said anything because they probably figured I would just, stand up for myself or whatever, which I never did because I wasn't taught to do that. I was never taught to do that. And that's another issue. Women aren't taught to stand up for themselves. They're still being told, don't make a fuss. Don't be aggravating. And then we end up getting killed because we let somebody, get too close. I mean, it's not trying to be, but that's where that can lead to, that not standing up for yourself. It can get you killed. But anyway, not enough of that. So this guy was doing the hand around the waist, and then I remember the first time and the only time that I made the mistake of scooting away like that. That was all I did. That was all I did. I was 18 years old. I didn't know shit. But that was all I did, was that move. Later that day, whatchamacallit came up to me and was like, hey, Kevin wants to see you in his office. And I was like, oh. So I went up there. And it was like some room behind the real thing, you know what I mean, in the theater. way back there. And I went up there and he was like, have a seat. I thought, shit. Because like I say, I hadn't had maybe but like one other job besides that, and I didn't know what was going to happen. And I sat down, and the desk was in front of me, his desk, right? So he leaned on his desk, I guess to feel like he was taller than me, because I was actually bigger than him. I was 5'7". He was little. Which might have been another issue for him, I don't know. But he leaned like on his wrists on the desk like towards me. Leans towards me and says, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to stop. Jesus Christ. Okay, Lamau. What did I miss? I didn't know. I'm 35. I'd slap him now if somebody said that to me, especially a manager. It was because I know what's going on now. But at 18, I didn't fucking know. You can't be serious because they're still doing like they did, 50 years ago. It's like that they won't help us, but the harassment, the sexual shit hasn't gone away. It's like, you know, just pretend I died. Just do me a favor and pretend I'm dead. But I'll never forget that. Never forget that. No, hold on. So, yeah, 17 years ago. 17 years ago. Still remember it. Because it was so stupid. Because I got scared because I thought, oh my God. Because no one had ever done that to me before. Like, I hadn't lived, or been out of the house, so I didn't know. My parents sure as hell didn't act like that towards me, so I had never seen that before, and I just thought, I was racking my brain trying to figure out what I'd done wrong. And I just thought, oh my God. And he was like, we're just going to agree that you're not going to be working here anymore, and you can get your stuff and go. And I had to I went down there, and it was getting my stuff, and my friend, Maria or whatever her name was, she was like, what are you doing? And I said, he's told me to go. She was like, what? What happened? I said, I don't know, girl. He just said, I don't know what you're doing, but you need to stop. And he said that we're going to agree that I'm just going to go and not say anything. And she was like, are you fucking serious? Because she knew. She'd been there way longer. She knew what was up. I think we went to high school together. I can't remember, but somehow she knew me. But both of us, like between us, even with two of us, we still didn't know that we could have stood up to him and like called corporate office and said something, because we're not taught that. We're not taught that. And all of the girls were like, oh my God, girl, that sucks so bad. I'm so sorry. He's a real bastard, blah, blah. But those girls stayed at that job, even though he's a real bastard. They stayed at that job because they figured they couldn't make it anywhere else. So they're putting up with that. See what I mean? So I got my purse and my jacket and called Mom, and she came to pick me up. I was only there like a couple months. That's how long that lasted. And then the other place was a wedding dress shop that I'd actually had my heart set on, because I was going to be a wedding consultant, if you can imagine the irony in that. But I'll save that for another time. But it's ironic. And yeah, so I was really pouring myself into that job, and because I was trying to use that to build. And the guy that owned it, I couldn't go to anybody because it was a privately owned thing. It was just this couple from New York. Why they came to Virginia is beyond me, but they had a shop. It was a small shop, but it was good. And that guy, he was friendly and everything, and he was talkative, and he had a good sense of humor and everything. When you first met him, you're like, okay, this is fine. I can handle this, A little bit over the top with some of the sexual stuff, but usually that was him and his wife bragging about stuff they did in front of us. Me and the the girl and that lady from Spain, Maria Campos. But anyway, I don't know why I mentioned her. She's never gonna see this video anyway. So but it was called Eileen's Originals, and on that same street actually as the Cinema Cafe. It's gone now. It used to be next to Pet Supply Plus down there on that corner before you get onto Indian River Road, for anyone who knows what I'm talking about. But it was Eileen's Originals, and I worked there for several months. I lasted several months, and then the guy, I had good clothes, even though I went to the thrift store for all my clothes, because they had, well, it was cheap, but I mean, the thrift store has stuff that no one else has, and I like unique shit, so I always went there. And I like to sew, so I can always alter my stuff to make it fit, so I didn't have a problem with not finding the right size or whatever. That usually wasn't an issue for me. If it was too small, forget it. If it's too small, there's almost no fixing it, but stuff that was too big, I'd buy big stuff all the time and just But anyway, so I had good clothes. I thought I did. He thought I did too. So I'd get there, and I was 19 at this point. I remember being 19. And I went in every day, just trying to look my best, trying to look professional for what I thought it was worth, or my idea of professional for what that was worth. But I must have looked okay because my mother didn't stop me going out the door, so I was probably all right. But I'd get there, and for the first few months, he'd say, "Well, Miranda, you look very nice today. You look so nice today. That's a really nice outfit. That's really nice. Okay, thank you. Thanks. Thanks." And of course, like I say, I didn't know anything about men, wasn't taught anything about men or how to handle it. So that shit continued. Then some time went by, and I did better at the job. I was starting to learn more stuff. Was told to train me on some extra things with the books. So things were going, in the direction I wanted them to go in. There was a lady that came in from Suffolk who said that her friend told her about me at that shop, and that she had to come there and make sure she worked with me to fit her wedding dress. That's how well I was doing. I was 19. I didn't know shit about shit, y'all. I didn't, except for Egyptology. I read books about Egypt. I didn't know anything about wedding dresses. Still wouldn't. Never worn one. But my point is, for some odd reason, I was just really good at that. But I was good at talking to people, and I was good at, of course, I was talking to women, and we were talking about, regular things that are like normal to us at least. And the job went fine. And that manager, the owner, kind of started getting to a point where he wasn't happy about complimenting me anymore. And he got to a point where he had maybe a bit of a menacing look on his face, or like a displeased look, just very compliment me, but not happy about it. And I remember being creeped out by that, because no one had ever done that with me either. I was so young, I didn't know anything. I just didn't know anything yet, period. Just didn't. And my parents had protected me, but not informed me, which messed me up a little bit, but because I just didn't know how to handle situations. Just didn't know. So when he started that angry compliment, it creeped me out, and I said, "Oh, thanks." I still said thank you every time, because it was, as much as I was used to hearing it, because I did look good. I'm not gonna lie. I'll go back and look at pictures of myself, and I'm like, damn, I hated myself? What the fuck? Why the fuck did I hate myself? The hell? Something wrong with me. Look at me. But, shit happens. But, I still, with as much as I turned heads when I was younger, I'm not going to dance around it. I really did. I did. But, I still always said thank you when someone told me I looked good. Always. Always. I've never been any other way. My esteem was so damn low that I either told them I didn't look good, or I just said thank you. But I never I was never like, oh, yeah, I know. No, I never did that. I was always real gracious about it. When I should have been saying, oh, thanks. I should have been doing that, but to hell with it. It's over with now. But anyway, so he got to where he was angry complimenting me. And I didn't know how to handle that, because I'd never seen my father do it and didn't have a lot of boyfriends at that time. So I just said, oh, thanks. It's scary. And finally one day, I guess he just couldn't take it anymore. And I had to get there. I was scheduled to be there early before everybody else for some reason that particular day. And it was just me and him in the building. And that suite, excuse me. And he sat me down on that little bench in front of the wall of shoes that's on the left when you go in the door, in the corner. And he sat me down in front of those shoes. and told me, he gave me a list of things that I had done that were offensive. And with each thing that he listed, I thought to myself, oh my God, that's never happened. And like, it was like boom, boom, boom. It was like half a dozen things. And he was having to think about it. He was having to think about it. Oh, well, and it was at one time, a customer said, no, she didn't. No, she didn't. No, she didn't say that. No one has said that. And then the only thing from that list I can remember, because this was almost 20 years ago, right? The only thing I can remember is when he said that the customers were coming in and going straight to him, which is funny because our desks were side by side, and I've never witnessed this. But they would go straight to him and complain to him that I had an angry look on my face. And that I looked like I didn't want to work, that I looked like I had an angry look on my face. And I said, who said this? Because people usually come in here and flirt with me and tell me my lipstick looks good. So who told you I was angry? Because the only thing I should be angry about is your big ass. You know, and this guy was 80 years old. I'm not making this up. I'm not making this up. He was huge. Huge. If you can still hear me, that's a cicada, by the way. And I don't like them. Thank you. It's going to start again, watch. So anyway, they don't care about anybody. So, but he was enormous and towered over me. And he was always like looking down at me, you know, like, I'm 5'7". I think I'm tall until, you know, somebody 6'3" is looking at me. But anyway, and he just had to really think about what he was telling me and really think about it. And then finally, he told me to get the hell out, get my shit and go. And then I got home and got in the door crying, got in the front door and I was just crying. And Mom said, what happened? Because it was like I'd only been gone like an hour. And I said, he fired me. And I had wanted that job so bad. And because I had big plans for that. I was going to be a wedding consultant. Like that's what I was going to do. And he pissed on all of it. And so I was crying and I said, well, he fired me. But he told me a bunch of stuff that you know, he told me a bunch of stuff that hasn't happened and I don't understand. I was clueless, fucking clueless. And Mom said, is this the guy that kept flirting with you so much all this time? And I said, yeah. Why? And she said, Miranda, his pride is hurt. His what is what? What? No one thinks, we don't think of that. Going to work every day and doing what you're supposed to do, that has nothing to do with your pride. You got to leave that at the door. That guy took my income away from me and my career dream away from me. Because no one else would hire me. Everybody else wanted somebody with a bunch of experience, and I couldn't. And even though I had experience by then, I couldn't use him as reference. And then to really screw things up for me, he was like, "I'm not going to send you your last paycheck. You're going to have to come get it. You can't put a stamp on it." Because I used to always collect it at work, so he never had to send it to me in the mail. Because I was always there on payday. I worked every damn day. I told him full time, and he had me at like 34 hours, so he wouldn't have to give me insurance or anything. But I was there all the time. And I did extra hours too. But because I was officially, you know, on paper as part-time, he didn't have to do anything for me. So I had to go in there and pick up my last paycheck because he wasn't man enough to stick a stamp on it. And I went in there looking just as good as I always did. I'm not going to lie about that. I did. And I went in there, went up to his desk, and the look on his face, guilt doesn't even begin. Doesn't even begin. He handed it to me and I got out of there. I was fuming. I was raging. I was so angry because he had so much power over me doing what I wanted with my life at that time, or so I thought. um, but the look of guilt on his face. But see, he was too good to apologize and tell me to come back. He couldn't like let some time go by and then invite me back or whatever and apologize for it and say there was misunderstanding. None of that. He was way too good for that. But still felt like shit for doing what he had done. What kind of mentality is that? And his wife worked with us. Like we were all in there together in that tiny ass room. So it's not like shit went unnoticed. It's just shit like that. You know what I'm saying? Like I could go on about this forever. I got a call in a second, so I have to hang up. But I mean, I got to stop recording. But I mean, that's just a taste. That's just a taste of what goes on, and women to this day, after the so-called liberation movement, which obviously hasn't done anything for us, especially my generation. We do not yet see as some of us here and there. You'll meet women that are like, you know, that have it right, but women as a whole, as a group, we collectively have not figured out yet that we don't need men to survive every day. We can have a good paying job or have, you know, residual income from something, owning property or something, and live and buy our own groceries and be able to eat every day just fine. And the fact that we as a group haven't come to that realization yet, or we're too afraid to try, is why stupid shit keeps happening. Now those two examples are just plain old sexual harassment. That's everyday shit, you know, but and getting fired for it, that's so commonplace we can't even put a label on it. But let's just put it in perspective. This might be a part 1, to be honest with you. I gotta go do my phone call, but this might be a part 1. So we'll see what happens. But anyway, thanks for listening. Hope my stories were entertaining, if nothing else. I've got plenty of them. So, hope that puts things in perspective for you. Hope it clarifies some things. And thanks for listening.